Okay, y'all. So I'm back with my Black history and how it influenced my fiction. I've been gone away from that topic for a few days. Had some things going on, but I'm back, and so today we're going to be going through a few books. So it's going to probably take a while. So I'm going to try to pace myself so I won't start talking too fast. But um, I'm going to start with the Haitian Revolution. Now, when I was coming up, not much was said about the Haitian Revolution. The only thing I knew about Haiti was the condition that it was in at the time when I was a young person, which wasn't very good, and never heard a lot about it. But as I started doing research, I started hearing bits and pieces here and there from other people who were much more well educated about the subject than I was, and I went down that path. And then that's when I learned the details of the Haitian Revolution, and not only that, but what a huge effect that it had on the state of politics and on the world back in that time. The fact that there was a successful slave revolt that lasted for 15 years, and where the French, the British, and the Spanish were all defeated during that time. That's another thing that people don't talk about a lot. They talk about the fact that that it was a French colony, but they don't talk about how the different European countries tried to use this revolution as an opportunity to take control of Haiti. And in every situation, all of them were defeated, and it had a lasting effect on the area, because every time something happened up, people would always say, "This might be another Haiti. This might be another Haiti," and that was their trigger to raise that fear and stuff like that. So I've always been into alternate history when I'm writing fiction, and learning all these things about the Haitian Revolution kind of sparked my imagination. But before I talk about that, I'm supposed to be giving you references. This is one of the best books to read about the Haitian Revolution. It's called The Black Jacobins, and this book goes into very good detail about the revolution. It talks about the different people who were important into the revolution in Haiti, known as Saint Dominique at the time. It talks about Toussaint Louverture, and talks about some of the other people who were involved in well, and talked about actually the intricacies and the politics that was going on in between the people who were leading the revolution, as well as what was happening between the European countries and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a good book to start and read about the Haitian Revolution, check out The Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James. That's one to put on your list. So my scenario, I was thinking about, because all these areas were interconnected. You had Haiti, which was controlled by France, and at the time you had New Orleans, the Louisiana Territory, that was also controlled by France. So when the people were evacuating and leaving Haiti, a lot of them relocated to New Orleans. So the news about the revolution, of course, spread into the American South and stuff like that, because people communicated, enslaved Africans communicated. They talked about this stuff. And so my scenario was, what if the Haitian Revolution spilled over into the American South, and there was a revolution in the American South, and it was successful because of the aid from soldiers and people from Haiti. Now, that actually almost did happen. There's a thing that happened in Louisiana at the time that was suppressed, because whenever there were like slave revolts, they would suppress the knowledge of it because they didn't want the word to spread to other plantations and stuff like that, and have a general uprising. It was called the German Coast Revolt. There was a part of Louisiana at that time that was called the German Coast, because there were so many people who immigrated into the United States and settled in that area from Germany that it was known as the German Coast. And it was in that area where where the enslaved Africans heard about the Haitian Revolution, and launched their own revolution, their own uprising. And there was a group of I'm going to talk about it in generalities, but just make a long story short, there were a group of enslaved Africans that revolted, formed a group, and they were actually marching toward New Orleans, and they were eventually stopped. And once they were stopped, the whole all the knowledge was suppressed of this revolution, so to keep it from spreading, so it wouldn't spread into other places. If you ever get a chance to go to the Whitney Plantation, which is outside of New Orleans, and I don't usually suggest plantation visits unless you're going to learn more about the enslaved Africans, but this is a plantation that is totally dedicated to talking about the lives of enslaved Africans, and they actually have a monument to the people who launched the German Coast Revolt. So definitely check it out. Matter of fact, the plantation is actually on the German coast, which blew me away when I went to visit it because, I'm like, everything is here at one time. So let's get back to the fiction. My scenario about what would happen if the Haitian Revolution had spread into the American South was the result of it was my book From Here to Timbuktu, which is based on this country that resulted from this successful revolution. I even have maps and stuff and everything like that in there. You've heard me talk about this book before. The first book is an action adventure book about a Fredonian bounty hunter and a Malian warrior that are actually hunting for a book that was stolen from Africa that contains certain secrets and technology that a Prussian officer feels like may help Prussia become the leading nation in Europe. And it's a really fun book. It's written like a movie, and I think you really enjoy it. So the next history we're going to talk about here is going to be about the second book I wrote in the series, which is La Rosa de Matanzas. Now, this story takes place in Cuba. We find out that Zeke's love interest is originally from Cuba and has a very exciting history behind her as well. And as I was doing research for this book, I thought I was creating a scenario of a revolution that happened in Cuba during the late 19th century. But then I found out that there actually was a revolution going on during that time. And it's actually one of those things that eventually led to America becoming involved in Cuba and the Spanish-American War. But that's another thing. But as I was doing this, I came across this one person, and his name was Antonio Maceo. And Antonio Maceo was one of the leading officers and generals on the rebel side during this revolution. And he was a black man. And he was known as the Bronze Titan. And there's a lot of praise for him in Cuba, but of course here we'd hardly ever know about him. So I found this book called Antonio Maceo, old library book, and I read about him and I was blown away. I was like, man, this guy's tactics during this revolution were compared to some of Napoleon's tactics. They were fighting the Spanish during this time. This guy was leading attacks with soldiers on horses with nothing but machetes, and they were attacking armies with cannons and rifles, and they won. And he was wounded many times. Eventually, he was killed during battle. But the fact that there was this black man who was the major character in this revolution, something that we hardly know now. And but of course, in Cuba, he's known and well respected. But here, especially when Americans came to Cuba, they start trying to suppress the knowledge. But that's what we do, or they do. But yeah, after I read this book, I said I have to put this man in this book some kind of way. And I actually went back and did some rewriting because I said there's no way I can write about it, even if it's fiction. There was no way I could write about something happening in Cuba during this time and not include Antonio Maceo in the book, which I did. So that's kind of how the history that I researched ended up influenced the fiction that I wrote. I'm still writing in the Fredonian universe. A matter of fact, my book, The Curious Cases of Martha Periwinkle, that's coming out in April, comes from the Fredonian world. And I also have a couple of other books that come from that world as well. So you're sure to be influenced by more history that I'm reading. So again, we're looking at From Here to Timbuktu, La Rosa de Matanzas, the Black Jacobins, and Antonio Maceo. So if you get a chance and you can find these books, definitely check them out. And if you're looking for some fiction to read, check my books out as well. Y'all take care. Peace.